Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Ivy. She loved stories. Now, she had a mother who was an English teacher. Ivy learned to read right quick. Ivy read everything. Ivy read books about horses. Ivy read books about science. Ivy was the little kid at 8 years old, reading books about the wives of famous presidents. Ivy loved books. Now, there came a point when Ivy started to read out loud to everyone, to her friends, to her sisters, to her beleaguered parents. She read every book out loud. And finally what happened was, on a birthday, Ivy was given a tape recorder, one of those big rectangular ones about yay, handle on this end, about this end was a third of a speaker with little holes in it, pretty much indestructible, made of plastic. Instant obsession. And what did Ivy do with the tape recorder? She read books to it, of course. She read books incessantly and recorded them and listened back to them, not to hear her own voice, but because she also liked being read to, and this way she could both do the reading and the hearing. It was a perfect system. So time goes on, and Ivy expands. Ivy expands out into everything. I was never in less than 2 to 3 choirs, in doing a musical at least twice a year. I played flute. I played piano. Sound was my life. But through it all, I was the kid with the book. I was the kid reading the book underneath the desk while the teacher was doing algebra on the board until the teacher would go, Ivy, would you care to join the rest of us in the lesson? I had a big window in my room that looked out onto trees, and my curtains were white with green leaves on them. And I would come home and I would, chuck my schoolwork on the floor, and I would climb up on my bed and I would get under the curtain. So I was looking out at the trees, and I had this beautiful curtain behind me of leaves and light-colored fabric, and I would read in this beautiful little tent for hours. I would read till the sun went down, and then I would get under my covers with a flashlight and read until my kind parents took the flashlight away. Time goes on. Ivy grows up. Ivy becomes a mom. The day after she was born, I had her laying on a big red felt blanket on the sofa in the sun. And I thought, okay, first book I'm going to read to my new baby. What's it going to be? I knew exactly. It was going to be A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. One of the classics of fantasy literature. If you haven't read it, I'm not sure what rock you've been living under. Go out right now and get yourself some Ursula Le Guin and start reading. About this time, though, I started getting sick. And that's never gone away. I had a long-term chronic illness. Continues to this day. And when you have 2 kids under 5, and you can't play a bunch, and you can't run around a bunch, what was I going to do? I read to the kids about 4 hours a day. No kidding, 4 hours at least a day, read out loud to the children. Time goes on. The kids were in their, they would have been like 8 and 10 at this point, and I was reading. Granted, now I want to back up a second and say, what was I reading to them? Things I wanted to read for 4 hours at a time. So they heard all the greats of sci-fi and fantasy. That was their little childhoods. So I was reading to them the latest book in the Lois McMaster Bujold Vorkosigan series. It had just come out. In fact, I'd even gone to the book signing, which is really fun. And a friend of mine heard that I was reading the book out loud to the kids. And she was like, oh my God, can you please just hit the record button on your laptop and put it anywhere in the same room. I don't care if you stop and take breaks. I don't care if the kids laugh or ask questions. Just please record the book. Because back in those days, audiobooks and books were not released simultaneously. In fact, they were very, very seldom even from the same company. And the new audiobook for that new book wasn't going to come out for at least a year. Okay, so I set up a laptop and I read that entire book to the kids over the course of about 2 weeks. And every day I would send her the chapters so that she could listen to them, because her job was delivering pizzas. She was in the car for hours and hours a day, and she was really bored. And there weren't podcasts back then. It was books on tape or nothing, man. She didn't even get good radio reception. So after I finished that book, she was like, my dear friend. The audiobooks for that series up to this point have been really, really bad. Do you think you could read them to the kids too? And I was like, sure, they haven't heard those ones yet, because I hadn't actually found the series until a couple of books before that. So we did the same thing again. I read the earlier books and recorded them. This goes on for the entire series. The recording did not stop there. Other people asked me for books. I hooked up with a friend, and I have the best time working with her. We are this close to releasing a fully radio playized podcast of her original work, which is going to be amazing. I'll put a link in the description whenever that comes out. So that is the story of how little Ivy, the girl who could never put a book down, became the woman in her 50s who reads books for a living. So apparently, I now want a new challenge. I want to do audio with video. Right now, my goal, very modest goal, for this channel is for it to be storytelling. Storytelling of whatever kind. It's what I do. It's what I've always done. We'll see. Part-Time YouTubers Academy, for which this is my first project. Can't believe there was a sound right there. Dual Wing Audio is the name of the company. That motherfucker.